Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Walt here from Down the Block Sports, and today I want to talk about the NFL. We have a massive trade between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Miami Dolphins. What I want to talk about today is who was traded and how this will affect both teams in 2022 and beyond. Again, I'm Alec Walt. This is Down the Block Sports. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more of my exclusive content. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, the Chiefs are trading six-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins for 5 draft picks. Those include a first, second, and fourth round pick in 2022 and a fourth and sixth round pick in 2023. The Dolphins are also giving Hill a new contract, 4 years, $120 million with $72.2 million guaranteed. That's according to Schefter and Hill's agent, Drew Rosenhaus. It took 1 week to have a new highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. Kyle, after hearing all of that, what is your reaction to the news?
It's just insane, Alec. It's just absolutely insane. You know, when you break it down, for Devontae Adams to be traded, you thought that was absolutely insanity, impossible. And then you hear just this morning that Tyreek Hill is getting traded, and you think to yourself, well, first off, why? You know, another guy that you thought no shot that he was potentially going to be traded from his team, and it wound up happening, and it wound up happening in a matter of an hour. You know, it broke maybe only an hour or 2 hours ago that contract talks have stalled. He wants to be the highest paid receiver in the NFL, and he's going to be gone. And you heard right away, Dolphins and Jets favorites. Then you heard that they both had two set in stone trades in place for him. Just a matter of which team he wanted to pick. You know, unfortunately, as a New Yorker, I knew right away he'd be picking the Dolphins immediately to go to. And he did. And he becomes the highest paid wide receiver in the entire NFL. Alec, along with that contract. So how it's broken down is $52 million is fully guaranteed at the signing, and the 72 that you talked about becomes fully guaranteed at the start of the 2023 league year, according to Schefter. But basically, to sum it all up, another huge contract, all guaranteed money, really, to sum it up. $120 million guaranteed. Tyreek Hill in the prime of his career, only 28 years old, which is really hard to believe. It feels like he's been in the league for a lot longer than that. But 28 years, they have him for the entirety of his prime, that 4-year window from the age of 28 to 32. And he joins a Jaylen Waddle, a Mike Gesicki, a Devontae Parker, a Cedric Wilson, wide receiving core, a running back core of Raheem Mostert and Chase Edmonds, and Mike McDaniel's got an offense that looks star-studded right now.
Yeah, I mean, the Dolphins have made some moves. I mean, they committed to Tua Tagovailoa here in this offseason. They added a head coach who is from the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, who's had success all over the National Football League. They need to improve their offensive line. They signed the best offensive lineman in the free agent class with Teron Armstead. They needed to improve getting a true number one wide receiver on the outside. And here we are adding Tyreek Hill on the outside with, like you mentioned, a very, very deep receiving core. Right off the bat, Kyle, you know, like I said before, their head coach, Mike McDaniel's from the coaching tree of Kyle Shanahan. I think this fit in this offense. Now, we haven't seen McDaniel be a head coach yet. We can't expect him to be Kyle Shanahan, but we expect some of that offense to come over to Miami. I mean, what's been the theme with the Shanahan offense? Speed, Debo, Ayuk, Mostert, who's now in Miami. Dude, they just added the fastest guy in the league.
Yeah.
Have fun stopping him and Waddle.
Yeah, and Waddle's another guy who's one of the fastest guys in the league and really put his name on the board last season as well. I mean, he was drafted, I believe, at 5th or 6th overall last year in the first round, and he was the first receiver taken off the board, which was not, I don't want to say kind of a shock, but when you have a receiving class with the likes of a Jaylen Waddle, and people thought the Heisman winner, Devontae Smith, might have gone before him, but Jaylen Waddle taking number 1 off the board, and he really solidified himself as that at that pick. Because this is a guy that I believe in, and don't quote me on this, but didn't he set the rookie reception record all time for a season for a rookie last year with the Miami Dolphins?
If he didn't, he was close to the top. I don't have that official stat in front of me, but Waddle had a sick year last year for the Dolphins.
He had a great season, and you got to remember, he was able to do that with really no other weapons around him, which is what makes it even more so impressive. Now you have a guy like Tyreek Hill, who set in stone is going to be the number 1 option. So he's going to be a benefactor being the number 2 now in that system with Tua in a Mike McDaniel system. But to talk about what you talked about with Kyle Shanahan, again, if Mike McDaniel has learned anything from Kyle Shanahan, it's basically exactly how the Miami Dolphins are formed, really, with the exception of that offensive line, which they really, really need to improve upon. Did a video with Review and Preview last night, talked about Teron Armstead. fantastic signing, but nobody's really taking into account is that Tua Tagovailoa is the only left-handed quarterback in the league. The right tackle is really where that position needs to be protected, that blind side. But I think they'll look to address it. But in terms of the weapons that they have around, you have a multitude of running backs, which is Kyle Shanahan-esque, right? You have Raheem Mostert, you have Myles Gaskin, Salvon Ahmad, you have Chase Edmonds now. You have a great tight end set. You have Mike Gesicki, who I think is a top, in my personal opinion, top 7 tight end in the league. And now you have a legitimate receiving core, which I think is probably maybe, I don't want to say underrated because it's also new, but on paper can be so special if the quarterback really gets, things going in a new offense. Again, he's only been under a Brian Flores in his tender. So he's only been under a defensive-minded guy. Now you have a Mike McDaniels, an offensive-minded guy. This can be a completely different team in which nobody expected to be competitive. They suit up that offensive line. They already have a set-in-stone defense. That's a legitimate team right there.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Dolphins right now, normally when you make a trade like this, you do it for a couple different reasons. One, your quarterback's on a rookie salary, which it is. You want to stack the roster while you have the financial flexibility with a cheap quarterback. You're looking at Tua Tagovailoa. He's really running out of time to prove he's a franchise quarterback. How do you get the Tua to be the best version of himself? Surround him with talent. You draft Waddle last year. You franchise tag Gesicki this year and then acquire Tyreek Hill from the Kansas City Chiefs. But normally when you make this move, it's because you're a contending team. You're giving up a first-round pick, a second-round pick, 2 fourth-round picks, a 6th-round pick. I mean, those you can push to the side. What are your thoughts on the fact that they gave up a first and a second specifically for this year with a team that's still on the bridge of, I think they are a playoff team with the expanded playoffs, but the AFC is loaded, and there's still no guarantee this Dolphins team makes the playoffs this year.
Well, I think, Alec, when you look around and you try to find a similar example, something that came to my mind right away was the Buffalo Bills, right? When they made the trade for Stephon Diggs just a couple years back. Obviously, they were a barely playoff team, right? They made it in as a wild card. They didn't win the division, but they made it in. So technically speaking, a playoff team. But you knew they needed a number 1 receiver to take that next step. And not to say that Jaylen Waddle couldn't have been that guy, but Tyreek Hill becomes available on the market, and you're one of those teams in the competition and race to get him. You got to go do it. He's 28 years old. You got to go do it. But the Buffalo Bills came straight to my mind because it's a similar package that they gave up to the Minnesota Vikings back in the day, where I believe they also gave up a massive haul of draft picks in order to get him. I think it was around 4 or 5 picks as well. And is anybody in Buffalo complaining about that trade? No.
Nope.
Now you look at the Miami Dolphins as well. They got their number 1 guy. They got their receiving core. But why I think they also made the move as quickly as they did, Alec, not only because of the talent that Tyreek Hill holds, but like the Miami Dolphins, like you just alluded to, this necessarily doesn't make them a playoff team, but you know what? It gets them that inch closer because like you just talked about, that AFC is so deep. They're watching the Chargers make moves. They're watching the Raiders make moves. They're watching the Bengals make moves. They're watching the Steelers, the Ravens, the Bills, all these teams, not the Patriots. They're watching all the Colts just get their quarterbacks. So now they might be a legitimate contender. They're watching all these teams make moves, and they're just sitting there and saying, well, we don't really know what we have right now. But like you just said, how do we figure out what we have? Get the best receiver available that you possibly can. Because Tyreek Hill, granted, he's not really an injury-prone guy. His numbers have always been terrific. In the 6 years that he's been in the NFL, he's been a 6-time Pro Bowler. He has tremendous numbers, always at the lead in terms of receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, and receptions on the season. The quickest guy in the NFL, like you talked about. So deep threat is going to be unbelievable, especially now in that division where there's no corners. I know Pats just lost J.C. Jackson. The Jets still have corner issues.
Tre'Davious is pretty good.
Tre'Davious White is good. We'll see what happens after coming back from the injury with the Bills. But you get the point. This guy is a matchup nightmare. And now the Miami Dolphins, I don't want to say they're contenders, but now you could say in a division where you look at the AFC as a whole, and you said every division was basically, maybe with the exception of the AFC South and the AFC East, every division was neck and neck. Now I think you could add that AFC East into a neck-and-neck conversation, because even the Miami Dolphins last year, without a Tyreek Hill and without an improved offensive line, went, 8-9 on the season, 9-8 on the season? Now they got an offensive guru, added all these pieces on offense, and then to put the cherry on top, you add Tyreek Hill as a top 5 wide receiver in the entire NFL to that team. So that's easily, if they won 9 games last year, this is now an 11-win team, which puts you in that race for the division.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be up there for the division. I still think Buffalo is the number 1 team. New England needs to make a move. I'm interested to see when that's going to be. But when you look at this offense right now, they're fast. They have a ton of dudes who can catch when you look at their running back system, running back depth. all of them, it seems like they can catch passes. They have a new coach from an offensive coaching tree that is very successful. The Miami Dolphins are going to be a very interesting team heading into 2022, adding Hill to a what looks like very good offense. How will Tua look? I feel like this is all really going to determine on how he takes that step forward in his development. I do think going with a McDaniel is going to help him in that development, but watch out for the Dolphins. They have the chance to make some moves here in the AFC. And as a New England Patriots fan, you can see over my shoulder, I am not looking forward to facing Hill and Waddle and Parker and Gesicki twice a year next year. Kyle, before we go, where can my listeners keep in touch with you on social media and listen to your podcasts?
So I'm on Instagram at Kyle Russo 612, and like Alec, you've alluded to many a times before, I'm on Review and Preview, which is featured every Wednesday night. So tonight from 7 to 9 p.m., in which we cover all 4 major sports from baseball, basketball, football, and even a little bit of the NHL. So make sure to stay tuned. We have a wide variety of content, all different shows throughout the week. But Review and Preview tonight, that's what I'm on, 7 to 9 p.m. every Wednesday night. Alec, thank you again for having me, man. Really do appreciate it.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you joining me. As always, we'll be talking more here on Down the Block Sports. So, Kyle, thank you again. And hopefully we have another trade tomorrow, the next day. We'll be talking NFL. If breaking news happens, we'll be discussing it here on Down the Block Sports. That's going to be it for this episode of The Alec Walt Show. I'm Alec Walt alongside Kyle Russo. What do you think of this deal between the Dolphins and the Chiefs? Feel free to give me your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more of my exclusive content. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will see you very soon.